we move on to right intention. Yeah? From right view to right intention, or right resolve. I like that, resolve. Yeah. And so, when once we, I get, again, all the Eightfold are connected in so many ways. They're interconnected in so many ways, huh? But once we get right view a little bit, once we begin to see what's what and begin to understand something about cause and effect, begin to understand something about impermanence, begin to understand something about the causes of distress, the causes of suffering, the causes internally of how I co-create my own difficulty and suffering within the mind itself, not the causes out there. No, no. And so often we go, no, I'm unhappy because of this other person, because of this world on fire, because if this weren't happening, then I would be happy. Yeah, there may be some truth to that. But in these practices, it's about, and it's humbling, isn't it? It's about checking in to see how we are causing ourselves distress. It's never so evident than on a retreat, we're sitting around in a circle with beautiful people, beautiful environment, safe, trusting environment, and the mind creates trouble for itself. Yeah? Yeah. Have you seen this in meditation? Nobody's in there except for you, you too. And the mind just creates trouble for itself. It will go chewing on some old bone that, of something that's unresolved, or grasping for something else. The present moment is not enough. This isn't enough. The breath isn't enough. Something isn't enough. I need more. I need more. Let me go look for more. And the mind goes wandering. There's got to be something out here. It's very simple, but we go through this all the time. It's all the time. This is part of our wiring, isn't it? And so right intention follows right view. Okay, we're going to get some grasp of right view, a little bit, just a little. And then what would right intention entail? Well, it would entail things, and it's funny, I used to think these things were kind of boring. I thought they were kind of boring, and I thought, well, no, they're important, but the most important thing is for me to just work really hard at my meditation practice, and everything else will take care of itself. This is one of the great misunderstandings of this practice. These things don't take care of themselves unless we turn our attention to them and see what's up here with this in me, It's a humbling practice. It's not the fancy stuff. It's not the bells and whistles that I wanted, the great insight. That's what I want. Yeah, we all want that. We do. We want that moment that will transform everything. Don't we? It's a sweet wish. I love that. It's a sweet wish. Yeah. It just doesn't work that way. I didn't make the rules. The Buddha didn't make the rules. He just looked in and said, okay, what can we do here? How can we start to move toward more ease of well-being? And he suggested three things in right intention. Yeah? One is renunciation, non-greed, non-grasping, not intense craving, non-craving. Yeah? One is moving away from ill will. He calls it freedom from ill will. Well, good luck with any of these things, being free from them. It's more, we always emphasize with you when we're in our own practice, the direction toward less ill will. Toward less ill will. And harmlessness, harmlessness. Another one, sure, harmlessness. I remember when Gandhi was asked what he thought about Western civilization, and he said it would be a good idea Well, it would be a good idea. Harmlessness is one of those. Harmlessness. Yeah, would be a good idea. Non-greed would be a good idea. Non-ill will would be a good idea. They're good ideas. They're good directions. They're good directions. But boy, it's so humbling to look in and see, of course. And, and we're taking all of these things at not just the gross level, but we're getting a little bit more nuanced about it, about all these things, We're not have to talk about huge addictions that are part of craving. Sure they are. But don't we all have our little addictions? The ones that we don't quite want to let go of, even though they don't feel so good. The strange attachments we have to some of our patterns, even if we know they don't feel so good. Well, but, the practice is about looking a little more closely at some of this, in a little more granular way at some of this, right? And seeing what's going on in there. Yeah. And I'm always struck by this, that, when they talk about, you look carefully about what waking up involves. We think it involves getting something, getting some other state of mind, getting something else other than this, anything other than this, something more, something more. But when you read carefully, it's always about some of the things that are going on now are happening less. That's what the direction of freedom looks like. I'm just grasping less. There's just less ill will. There's just more willingness to find the present moment in all of its richness and nuance to be more than enough. It's one moment of enough after another moment of enough, rather than what else can I do to fill this pot up? That's the change. That's the shift. That's the direction. Do you know? And toward harmlessness. Well, I can't do that. I can't do any of these things. But I can do it in this moment. In this moment, can I start to become aware of the way I'm not whispering nice things into my own ear? Those things I've been saying for so long, and now I'm getting a closer look. And now I really want to, kind of stop that. And it's not stopping. Wow. I've come so far in this life. So many wonderful things have happened. I've been so blessed. I still can't whisper nice things into my own ear a fair amount of the time. Maybe someday I will. Someday I'll find myself to be enough, but not today. It's like, that's what we want to look into. Really? Yeah, that's what right intention is. It says, let's take a closer look, please. Not because somebody says so, but we've got to start to look. The causes of happiness are not really, we have to look at this really carefully. It's not getting more things. You know that wonderful T-shirt, the one who has the most things, the most toys when they die wins. That's what capitalism is. That's what that espouses. More. We need something more. The marketers go to town with that. We need more. Then I'll be happy. Again, not in a gross way, but in subtle ways, this stuff is still playing out in us. It's humbling to see how no, I'm not greedy like that. But boy, I'm still, that deeper sense of contentment, of comfort with things as they are, with myself as I am. Not yet. And so there's a practice of these things. First we pay attention. Look what I'm doing. Let me put down that stick. Let me put it down when I'm wanting to kill something else like a bug, have you had this experience? One of the things that helped me was slow it down. Sometimes we might have to do it. There might be an occasion. Just slow it down and watch yourself do it. Do it in slow motion. See what that feels like. It kind of changed my relationship to insects a little, like, oh, you know, slowing it down, paying attention. And, and eventually, this business about, the mind inclining toward less ill will or even toward generosity, even toward kindness, inclining toward kindness. There's actually a word for this. There's the practice of it in a moment of generosity, a moment of non-harm, a moment of not throwing another log on the fire, either internally or externally. Have you ever had those situations interpersonally? I just spoke with somebody last night about this, where there's such a dynamic in a family dynamic that there's a kind of impenetrable self-righteousness going on with each person. No, I'm so right. Let me tell you how I'm so right. No, let me tell you how I'm so right. Right? The fire there that keeps going and going and going. And then there's this moment, and I talked to somebody last night I've been working with for a while. He's been practicing for quite a while. He said it was a kind of a miraculous moment. He said, this must be the fruit of the practice. It must be the fruit of the practice. He was getting into, his mother died, and the whole family went to hell because the siblings were fighting, like, in the space of impenetrable self-righteousness. And he tried to write a slightly different email to his sister, and what came back was, and finally he said, I think maybe I just have to give up with all, just pull back completely. And he said, no, I decided to do one more thing. He said, I found a picture of when I was dancing with my mother 30 years ago, a beautiful picture, and just sent her that picture. And the whole dynamic changed between she and then the other sibs, and they started to get in touch with something else, And there's a word kaga, C-A-G-A, Pali word kaga, which means not just the act of doing something generous or non-harming, but when the mind and the heart starts to incline that way more and more of the time, it just starts to want to go in that direction more. It means we've internalized it a little bit more, We practice, and then it starts to get in there a little bit more, That can happen eventually. But for most of us, it's humbly, a little bit at a time, not adding to the fire, not adding to the wrong kind of dynamic, not adding the wrong cause and effect links any longer in our chain and in our lives.